But good. You're welcome. Welcome. Welcome to another time. We are doing a study in our book, our sixth book in the series, which is The Good Life. This is a recap or a summary or a result, of 85 years plus study on human adult development. And it's all in the intent to find out what makes for a good life. What does it take to live a good life? What does it take to have a good life, both in its length, longevity, and in this breadth, spiced, rewarding, enjoyable, worthwhile life, you know and they found out, in this 85-year plus study, which is still continuing, that it is relationship. When we have relationship in the right areas of our lives and the quality of those relationships, those are the things that make for a good life. And that is pretty much in agreement with what I have always known, and I'm learning to know, because our essence, and the essence of any organism, right, is not within that organism. The essence of any and every organism is found outside of that organism, right? Everything that takes place within the organism is to prepare it to be able to engage for everything outside of it. And we as human beings, everything that takes place on the inside of us, whether it be physical, whether it be psychological, or whether it be spiritual, is to prepare us for engagement with things outside of us. Everything that takes place on the inside of us prepares us to engage with other people. Therefore, our essence is not found inside of us. And the essence of all that takes place on the inside of us is in our ability to rightly engage with other people. Other people. We were created to engage with other people. We're not created for ourselves. Even though to be able to engage with other people, we first of all have to engage with ourselves, because what we don't have, we cannot give to others. If we don't have peace on the inside of us, we cannot be at peace with other people, right? If we don't have rest on the inside of us, we cannot be at rest with other people. If we don't have love on the inside of us, we cannot give love to other people. If we're not happy with ourselves, we cannot be happy with other people, right? And again, I like to always re-echo Stephen Covey's book, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. He had seven habits. The first three habits he titled Winning the War Within. You cannot be effective with other people until you have won the war within, until you have gotten the constitution of you, right, until you have won the war within. Your within is at rest. You have captured the territories on the inside of you. You cannot rightly engage with other people. You cannot win the war without, right? So that's what we always say when we talk about people looking for marriage, spouse, and all of that, right? First of all, you have to love yourself, right? For you to find someone to love you, you have to love yourself. You have to win the war within. When you win the war within, it's easy to find the person that fits with the peace that is already within you, right? But most of us always put the cat before the horse. We're first of all looking for relationship outside, thinking that that relationship is what will help us win the war on the inside. You don't first win the war outside before you win the war inside. You first of all win the war inside before you win the war outside. That's why we say he that must have friends must first of all be friendly. And you cannot be friendly unless there is peace, rest on the inside of you, right? Being friendly comes from within you, comes from the inside of you. You are confident of yourself. You have an element of sense of self-esteem enough to be the one to take the first step to befriend someone else, right? You must see yourself worthy to befriend, right? You must see yourself worthy to be friend. Otherwise, people cannot see that worth in you, right? So again, it starts from within you before you can get it on the outside to other people, right? So great. So we're here going to be looking at chapter 7 of the book, and it's rightly titled The Person Beside You. As I was just preparing this yesterday, I was just thinking that It's quite a coincidence that this is going to lead us into the Valentine's Day, 14th of February, and thereafter. Not by planning, but this is going to be a Valentine's special, right? Because we're going to be talking things around love, right? We're going to be talking about things around love, partnership, you know, finding love, emotions, and things like that. And that's just rightly positioned for the season that we'll find ourselves. So as we go through chapter 7, it's going to be rightly called the Valentine special, right? Because we're going to be talking about love, right? It's going to be to strengthen your love when you already have one and stimulate progress in your love relationship. And if you're one that has not found one, you're looking for that special one. Hopefully, this would help you to find that special one, that you can add to your life and help you to get in the journey rightly of your love walk, right? So stay tuned and let's enjoy this time together. So I'm gonna bring up my slide like I normally do, always do. All right, great. So I'm here with my slide in YouTube Live. You can see it. Uh, so pretty much it's our as the book, a book again is written by the heads at the Adult Development Center at Harvard, Robert Waldinger and Maxus, and a compilation here, pretty much a compilation summary of their study on adult development that these center has been doing for more than 85 years, right? So again, our topic today is the person beside you, right? That's the topic of chapter 7, of our book. There's a person beside you, and we'll just take that. All right. So this is a big quote, and the quote we're going to be using as we run through the whole of the chapter itself, is by Madeleine L'Engle, and it says, when we were children, we used to think that when we're grown up, we would no longer be vulnerable, right? We used to think that we're not gonna be vulnerable when we're grown up. We used to think that, we could build such a thick skin, think high that things that other people do will not affect us, but we've since grown up and we found that that is not true, right? That is it's just something to accept, and then not allow it to control us, but master it, right? The answer is not being vulnerable, but the answer is the ability to master it, to develop a heart of living, you know. So but that's what we're going to be talking about. We just finished chapter 6. We talk about facing the music of life, not running away from life, not trying to avoid life, but facing life the way life is, And here we're gonna say facing life, with the person beside us, so that in a way that we can master it, we can get the best of it. We'll not be conquered by the life that we face, So this is pretty much building on what we've discussed, on chapter 6. In chapter 6, also one of the key things we talked about the wiser model, right? The WISER. In every situation of life, we need to be able to step back and observe, watch, right? What is going on? Don't just rush into the battle, right? Observe what is going on. Sun Tzu would say that the way to win wars, is to both know yourself and know the enemy. The word enemy here is a big word. It just means what is up against you or what you are up against, right? The way to guarantee that you win every war of life is not just is to know yourself. And when we talk about knowing yourself, we typically talk about doing a SWOT analysis. We'll talk about you need to know your strength, your weaknesses, right? The opportunities that avail themselves to you and the threats that also are against you, right? If you know that is one way of winning wars, but you won't win every war just by knowing that. You also need to know what is up against you, right? You need to know what is up against you, so that you then know how to harness your strength, your guide against your weaknesses, harness your opportunities and protect yourself against your threats, right? So, and in a way that fits your journey, in a way that fits that which you are against, right? Every plan that you have, right, would always change when your first touch with reality, right? You know yourself. You have a plan, a game plan for life, a game plan for business, a great game plan for relationship. That is great. That is great, right? When you plan, then you're planning to succeed. But having a plan is not the end of the game. You must be willing and ready to change, to adjust that plan, because that plan was done based on what you know at that point in time. As the environment changes, you must be in a position and in a disposition to, tweak your plan to be able to master the reality that you find in life. But key thing is, to win in life, you must know yourself, know the thing you're up against, right? To have the best of relationship, you must not just know yourself, you must know the person you are relating with, right? On a general level, and also with your spouse, the person you're engaged to, or the person you're spinning, you're chasing after, to be able to win in the relationship realm. It's not just enough to know yourself. You got to know that person also. Like we always get to say, right? Uh, it's it's not about yourself. It's the way that person needs to be robbed, right? A lot of us go into relationship or in relationship and want to treat the people the way we want to be treated. We have problems. Women want to treat men as women are treated. They're different. They're not the same, right? They're not the same, right? They're wired differently, or just any individual. Just want to treat other people the way you are. You're not the same. You come from different backgrounds, right? Or people just want to relate with their spouse the way their old spouse, their ex has been. Nah, you got to find out about this one. This one is different. This one is unique. It's not like all men. It's not like your S. It's not like your brother. It's not like your father. It's who he is. You have to know who he is so that you can rightly relate with him or her. You know, that's important, But the reality of life is that we need to accept vulnerability to be able to win in the area of relationship, right? The more we are, I remember quoting this. I was sharing sometime about vulnerability, some years ago. You determine to what level, to what extent you want any relationship you find yourself in to go, right? And that's determined by how much you choose to be vulnerable, right? I remember chasing after a relationship some years ago, and I stayed in there for about 11 years chasing after it. But the person I was chasing after chose not to be vulnerable, and it didn't work. It didn't work, right? Because you determine by your vulnerability to what extent you want any relationship to go, to what extent and to what depth is determined by how you choose to be vulnerable, because your vulnerability is saying you can come in more. When you're vulnerable, you're opening a door to your heart. Right? The vulnerability is the door to your heart. Obviously, you can be hurt, right? You can be hurt by doing that. But that's also the place by which also you can be loved, right? It's a risk. Love is a risk. Relationship is a risk, because the people that are closest to you are the ones that can hurt you the most, right? So yes, you cannot have depth of relationship unless you're vulnerable. But there's also the risk, because if you are giving it that to the wrong person, they can hurt you. It's a risk that we have to accept, right? But uh accept and learn from, right? So I was just sharing yesterday with my marriage portal, you know, someone was talking about, we kind of talked on boundaries, Boundaries are important in our life. Boundaries protect us. No matter how much you want to be vulnerable, you need to have boundaries in your life. Right? Boundaries come from you understanding what your strengths are, your weaknesses are, your opportunities are, the threats to you are, and you put boundary, you put LD and functional boundaries in your life according to that, according to what you know about yourself, right? You put the right boundary in place to protect you, especially where and when you're at your weakest point, right? The easy example to give is Solomon. The Bible said that when he was young, he married strange women. For as long as he was young, they could not take him away from God because he had the strength that the strength that he was young, he was vibrant, he could still worship God, right? But the Bible tells us that when he became old, oldness brings a bit of weakness to our life. That those women took his heart away from God. They took him away from worshiping God. Right? What if he had surrounded himself not with strange women, but women that had the same the same desire, the same goal, the same target like he was, right? When he was weak, they would help him find his way to the thing he's always wanted, right? So you need to surround yourself with the people that are going where you want to go, not the people that are going where you don't want to go, right? And you do that when you are strong, right? Because the night will come when you are not strong, and those same thing you surrounded yourself with will be either a strength to you or weakness to you, right? But enough talked about vulnerability. But vulnerability to be vulnerable is a choice. We choose whether to be vulnerable or not. But the consequence, there's a consequence for whatever vulnerability we choose. The people we're not vulnerable to cannot 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 go into an intimate relationship with us, right? The intimacy that we'll get is dependent on the amount of vulnerability we allow in our life, right? So it's a choice, right? I mean, we to receive all that, what others have in it, all others have in our life, we need to open the door of our heart for them. If we don't open the door of our heart, we can't receive the treasure that they carry.